right, good evening. Wednesday night, February 2nd. We are This Fan's View. I'm Carl, that's Lauren, that's Mario, that's John. Our special guest, Andre Lacroix, will join us just about around the 7 o'clock hour. So we'll knock out some Philly sports talk first and foremost. But let's not forget This Fan's View, sponsored by these people right here, City Distilling. Yes. Good stuff. If you haven't tried them, you need to give them a try. They got a lot of Valentine's Day specials. A lot of if you're close to Philly, it may be worth the trip. Lauren, you want to add something to that?
Well, first off, I was surprised you had a prop, so that was cool. But yeah,
and this one is sealed still. So
Lauren's figuring out a way how she can unseal it.
Right.
through Zoom or StreamYard here.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean you covered it pretty well. Their city sips are pretty good, which are to-go cocktails that kind of remind you of like a Capri Sun, only a little bit bigger, and obviously full of alcohol. But those are good too. So if you're in the area and you stop by for a drink or two, they have really good craft cocktails, but then they also have city sips that you can take and enjoy at home that are a little bit different. So really good variety. Definitely something for everyone.
Yes.
And we know this firsthand.
Yes. Yep.
Soon enough, you'll be able to get them anywhere because they'll be able to ship them out the city sips soon.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Yep, they're just waiting for packaging to be able to get it, and they'll be
all right,
ready to be shipped out.
I'm in for that.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to throw it over to John. John's going to bring us up to speed on our fantasy football playoff edition.
Yes.
And then he's got a little announcement to make as well, moving forward to another sport. So Johnny, why don't you take it away?
All right. Well, we're 3 weeks into it, deep here into the fantasy football here for the playoffs, and it's going great. We got a good matchup here towards the top. A couple of smart players there picking the Cincinnati Bengals to get far, so they were able to advance. Right at the moment, Anthony Beeman is the leader. With Will Brady, I think that might be Tom Brady's brother, maybe second. And then Don Hellens is in third place. Kyle Gaffner's in fourth. Timothy Egan's in fifth. Donald Riley's in sixth. Will Zolnak is in seventh. Jay Rizzett's in eighth, and Kyle O'Brien's in ninth, and Christopher Newman is in 10th. So we have points are 4 times as much going for the Super Bowl. So anybody still up for grabs there, and it should go down to the wire here. So thanks to all 70 people that have played so far this year. That was awesome. We had a lot of new players for the Super Bowl playoff edition. So it keeps growing, which is good to see. So. And then for the host, Mario beat me. But
well, kind of like skated right by that, John.
Oh, did I? You heard that. So Mario picked the Cincinnati Bengals, so he was able to advance pretty far. So good job by Mario. He got me this year with the playoffs. So so good job there. And then as far as since this is winding down and I'll be bored as hell when we don't have anything else to do, we're going to do March Madness again. So get ready for the March Madness, and we're going to have another prize package for that, and we'll have the contest. So last year we did it with the online, which worked good for saving me some time, but some people were having a hard time, so we're going to probably have to do it a little bit different on paper again this year. So we'll make it work. So just keep an eye out for that, so that when it does come in, we're going to have to that's a quick turnaround. It'll come out Sunday night, the brackets in the Sunday or Monday morning, and then games are playing on Thursday. So we'll have to make sure everybody's paying attention. Well, you do, you do, but you got 3 days there. You got to get them, get them going because noon on Thursday they start the game. Right. So, really Wednesday night you'll have to, get your brackets in by. So, just a little bit extra work. You might have to take a picture of your bracket and send it in as your comments. So, yeah, just keep an eye out for that so that we can, make that as successful as the football one has been. So.
Yeah, March Madness right around the corner.
Yes. Villanova's just heating up right at the right time.
Yep. There you go. Nobody else in the Philly schools. I'm trying to think. There isn't anyone else, is there?
No.
Is anybody?
No, not nobody right at the moment. No. Drexel's girls did well last year, I believe it was, but yeah, I'm not nothing for the guys other than Villanova. So it'll be interesting to see.
And
see how far they go this year.
They will probably go pretty deep, I would think.
Yes.
Joe Stinger is asking if scrap paper will be okay.
As long as I can read it, we'll make it work there, Joe. We'll make anything work. But if you see my eyes and needing toothpicks one of these days when we're doing the show, you'll know why. You get all the brackets all filled out.
All right,
but we'll be good.
So just recapping last week, we were at Hanrahan's Irish Pub with our good friend Hollis Thomas, and he did not disappoint. For anybody that missed it, you need to go back and watch the show. You can check it out on Facebook and YouTube. But he's a hoot. Let me tell you, he is an absolute hoot. I think Lauren enjoyed the one-on-one battle between Hollis and John. Lauren, you've had a week to think about this?
I just enjoy when somebody who clearly knows more than me about football also agrees with me about football. That feels good. I like that.
Well, we'll see how much that in next year how much Hollis is agreeing.
Jesus.
That's all I gotta say.
You're never
going to win, Lauren. You know that, right?
Oh, I'm well aware.
Hollis already was changing his mind when we were by the time we were by the
no. See, that's where I think you have it a little confused. He wasn't changing his mind. He just was done arguing. So sometimes it's easier to just go, yeah, okay, yep, whatever you say. Sometimes that's a little bit easier. So
I don't think so. But maybe that could be the way. We'll see.
I think it is.
So John wore him down.
Yes.
I was Rocky Balboa. I won 15 rounds with them. And I said at the end, we got a rematch. And he's like, there is none. We're not having a rematch.
I don't find that surprising at all.
I don't think John wore him down. I think that the killers shot him.
I don't find that surprising either.
Without the ice, it did wear him out a little bit. He wasn't as energized.
Yeah, he wasn't happy when he didn't get ice. So we were not the we dropped the ice on that one. But great show, great crowd. Anybody that's on with us tonight that came out, thank you. Just a phenomenal turnout. And we're looking forward to another great night next week. First time guest Irving Fryer's going to join us.
Yep.
Former Eagle, former Dolphin, former Redskin.
First overall pick
of the New England Patriots.
Wow.
So we're looking forward to some Super Bowl talk with Mr. Fryer. He's starting up his own podcast as well. So he's very much into this type of setting and looking forward to meeting all of us. So again, I want to thank Bill Mattis for putting this together, putting us together with with Irving. We've had him out to the store. It's been a few years, but he was a great guest at the store years ago. So we're looking forward to Dagwoods next Tuesday night.
Yep.
What else, Lauren? What else we got going?
I think you pretty much covered that for right now with our next show at Dagwoods, and then obviously back at Hanrahan's again towards the end of February. But yeah, got it all.
We've got our our free T-shirts to debut at Dagwoods. So we'll be handing those out as well, along with the what's become the staple of the show, the raffle prizes. I really honestly believe the raffle prizes have taken over.
Yeah, they may have. I know everybody's looking forward to them. You always from Carl's Cards, that you never disappoint with what's being raffled off.
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and we enjoy doing it. It brings out the crowd, and that's what we're looking for. I see our baseball commissioner has joined the show. I don't want to put you on the spot right away, but I'm going to put you on the spot right away.
All right.
How come you didn't get this lockout settled?
They don't listen to me. No, I don't know. I mean, it's after February 1st, which is the date that they said. I mean, they could theoretically still have a spring training that might be a little bit reduced. But I hear just as much as everyone else. I heard conflicting, reports. The other day I heard, hey, it was actually going pretty well and it looks like there was a chance. And then I heard today, like, that was the opposite, that it didn't go well and they're no closer to anything. So I don't know. I mean, even if you have a shortened spring training, I'm imagining these guys are going to want to play by, March 31st to get their full salary. So it depends on, are they willing to sort of listen to some of the things that the owners want, or are they not? And as of right now, it doesn't sound like they're on the same page. So they will, after March 31st, when the season starts, they're not going to get that full salary. So I don't know where they're at. They probably don't mind missing some spring training. If you're a young guy, you do, because you could use that, repetition, and you could use people to take a look at you. But if you're Bryce Harper, I don't know that you really necessarily care.
Right.
That you're playing that month or not.
Right.
So,
Well, and they don't get paid for it, right? None of the guys don't get paid.
Really. No, I mean,
extra
not extra, but some of those guys really need that. If you're one of those bench guys that need to make a name for yourself,
right,
it's going to hurt you.
Yep.
So, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I feel like every week it's just the same thing. I don't feel like we have any more clarification.
So what do you think the likelihood is that we'll actually have a spring training this year?
Probably less than 50%. I mean,
Wow.
I mean,
well, he's talking normal one, because you're going to have the minor leaguers.
Well, the minor leagues are going to be there no matter what, and I guess they'll let you on the backfields if you really want to, but it's not going to be anything money making, on their part. You would have to be really a diehard baseball fan or just want to get some nice weather to want to go on a year like this, I imagine, because it's not going to be the same. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they know more than the problem is we don't know anything, right? They don't. You're getting these reports afterhand. There's only a handful of guys in the room. No one's saying anything.
Right.
So maybe they're close. Maybe they're miles away. I wouldn't be concerned if we got to March and or the end of February and March and they're not playing. I'd be more concerned when we get to March 31st or April 1st and they're not playing, because that's when the TV money kicks in and that's when everyone gets affected. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But no, I don't know any more information than anyone else right now, unfortunately.
I think they're being very close-lipped about this. Just, I think, to avoid any miscommunication, better to say nothing than to say anything.
Yeah, and I think, they want to get it right. I do think, a lot of times, like you said, you don't take the owner's perspective because they have some more money, but the owners do have some really good points about making things a little bit more competitive. And, the players have some points too about being able to not, some of those guys don't get called up to a certain point because they make more money if they get called up earlier. So the team, sits them for a while. A guy could be hitting 500 and they don't bring him up. So, there's things on both ends that could be worked on. But, I think the owners want to get it a little bit more competitive because they see the sport, going down a little bit to what it was.
So on that,
yeah.
How detrimental to the sport would it be if they kept the lockout going and we didn't have baseball at all this year?
Well, that's something that people ask a lot. So I have all these, meetings, and the first thing I have to talk and tell people about is, hey, listen, if they don't play at the major league level, because they asked me about it, I said, we still play. It's the guys on the 40-man roster. We'll still play. I think
right.
In the 90s, 1994, our attendance went up a little bit, which is good in the short term, but it's obviously not good for the long term of baseball. I think if they don't play this year, it would be very frustrating and not helpful. But I think if, God forbid they didn't, but they somehow figured out how to make, more playoff teams, like the NFL, so fans feel like they're more invested later in the game. And right. I feel like obviously you don't want that, but if they could figure it out and do it right, I think the fans would come back in droves. I mean, they've done a million things over the years that should have killed baseball many years ago, and it's still going. Right. So I just think,
I just don't understand why we wait till the last minute.
Well,
we knew this was coming. We knew the deal was over. So why did we wait until February 2nd to realize, oh shit, we should start talking?
Well, if you've watched any baseball, any history, they're always reactive and not proactive.
Okay, so
and that's the case now too.
If the five of us on this podcast figure that out, how can the brains behind Major League Baseball not figure that out?
Because a lot of times when money's coming in, right? If you have a business and money's coming in, and it looks like everything's going well, you're getting television, the games are on late, so you get primetime money. You don't necessarily worry about plateauing or even dipping a little because you're still making the money. However, in the long term, if it continues to dip and the ratings continue to dip, you're not going to get that money. And like I said, they're reactive. So right now, everything looks okay. You're getting money from these companies, but
I have a different theory on that. I think they waited till the last minute, hoping somebody was going to cave.
Well, we saw from the last time that the players didn't, the owners themselves really didn't cave on anything, and they kind of did what they wanted to do because it shows you that they're the ones in charge at the end of the day. So,
and I think that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I love baseball more than anyone. It pays my bills. I love it, but I also want it fixed, and I don't know how you fix it without something like this. Unfortunately, right. I wish they could sit in a room and have a conversation and be like, you know what, you're right. It should be a little bit more balanced. Let's do this, and this. But, anytime when there's money involved.
But you would think that the business people that are running the sport, unfortunately, would sit there and go, we have all this time to figure it out and hash through everything. We've got 3 or 4 months to do this so we can do everything on time and do it right. And they're not doing it.
Well, I think what they need to do, and I'm sure they are, they have analytics for player stuff and all that. I'm sure they can look at the data over the last decade and see numbers going down. Why can football play at 3 and 6 p.m. and still make
that should take 2 seconds to pull those numbers?
It should, if I know that. If football could play at 3 and 6 p.m. and still make commercial money, why does baseball start at 8:30 and get over at 12:30? A kid can't watch that. I mean, there's a lot of easy fixes that I'm sure that they can do, and hopefully they can figure it out.
Right, and plus nothing ever gets done until there's a deadline. That's part of the negotiations because like you said, they're playing chicken. Who's going to blink?
But as we get as we get closer to the start of spring training, and it's in the news more, because right now the average person, 99% of people have no idea there's a lockout or that we might not have spring training. Once we get to March or April and they're like, there's no baseball, what happened? That's when you're going to get some people upset, the casual fan who had no idea.
Right. And like you said, even the beginning of February in March here, you're still going to have spring training technically, without, if you don't really know behind the scenes, like you said, that the 40-man roster is not there.
Sure.
You're going to see baseballs going on in Florida. So people are still thinking everything's normal, but like you said, once April comes around, it's going to be like, oh wait.
I mean, there's a lot going on with baseball now in general. I mean, the renovations that all the minor league teams have to do, and it's all great stuff, but it's a lot of behind the scenes things that people don't see, on a daily basis, and that's just one aspect of it. There's a million different things, and it's just I hope they figure it out for the the longevity of the game. It needs to be figured out.
All right, we're going to move on. Lauren, I'm going to throw it over to you for the 76ers, the hottest team in Philly sports.
So I was watching an interview right before the show. It was Deuces Rogers from 6ABC interviewing Doc Rivers, and they were talking about through injuries and COVID and how is it possible that he's been able to kind of keep the team cohesive and together and playing with the energy that they're having. And I don't know what occurred to me, but the 2008 Phillies kind of came into my mind, where you look at this team on paper and they shouldn't really be doing that well. Other than Joel Embiid, they have a handful of other guys who play fairly well, but for the most part, most of their bench guys, if you said that to a casual fan who they were, they wouldn't think that they played for the Sixers. And I feel like the 08 Phillies kind of had that same mentality. They had their core good group of guys, Rollins, Howard, Utley, but everybody else, I mean, Jeff Jenkins, players people had never heard of before. So call me optimistic, but I feel like this is maybe the season where we see something truly special kind of happen with this group of guys. Because Tyrese Maxey, I don't think is just on a hot streak right now. I think you're really seeing him play at his full potential. Tobias Harris, yes, he still is inconsistent, but you sort of know that going into it. And based on how he's playing, you can adjust because of that. You just have a lot of young guys. And I think maybe part of it was due to COVID. They pulled these guys from the G League. They pulled these guys from their driveways practicing basketball because they needed to just fill the roster. And it brought another level of intensity into the sport because all these guys were finally given their chance to play and they were going to make the most of it. Charlie Brown Jr. is a perfect example of that. They bring him up from the G League, and now we all know his name simply because when he goes out there, he makes his name known. He makes the most of his opportunity, which I think makes all the guys around him play at the next level too. So I like where it's going, but with any Philadelphia sport, I'm always obviously hesitant to get too excited. But I think of all the teams, they're probably the closest to giving us a championship. But I do not think Joel Embiid retires from Philadelphia without at least one ring.
Wow. Prediction time. Prediction time. You just snuck that in.
And I also snuck in that he doesn't leave Philly because I think he plays his whole career here.
Wow.
Really?
Wow. Wow.
Well, if you watched that game the other night with him out, I mean, they really did rally.
And did you see him run from the locker room watching the game? I mean, that's the chemistry that you can't teach someone. You can teach a layup, you can teach a foul shot, you can teach all that stuff, but you can't teach cohesive chemistry among guys, and that's what they have, and that is invaluable.
And normally in the past, you worry a little bit about the West, not that you don't worry about them still, but I know LeBron wasn't in, but you had a really good game against the Lakers. You had a good game against a lot of those teams when they were out there. It seems like as of today, they can compete. Now, it's not the playoffs, and we don't know what's going to happen. But if the playoffs started today, you feel like, hey, they got a pretty darn good shot.
Look at the Bucks. They had their one big guy, and the rest of the players around them, you sort of knew who they were, but not really. And he carried them right to a championship and hasn't looked back. I
think the key to the Sixers, like most other teams, is that bench. A lot of times if guys are missing shots, that hurts you. But if you got a guy like Isaiah Joe wide open because they're going to give him that shot all day and he's making that shot, then you can't be beat. I mean, if all those guys are making those shots, they're going to be open. You can double team Joel all you want if the guys can make the shots. They just have to be consistent in a playoff to make the shots, and I think they can hang with anyone.
Well, they're proving it each and every night. Doesn't matter who the lineup is. Doc's made multiple changes. Um, guys in. The other night, Forkman was out. For a maintenance night along with Joel, and other guys stepped up. It's just been it's been fun to watch. Really has.
Well, and even,
Hey, I see it's almost 7:00. I see our guys in the green room. Johnny, you want to bring our guest on, Andre Lacroix?
Absolutely. How we going?
There he is. There he is.
Guys.
Andre Lacroix, welcome to
Thank
the
you.
show.
How are you?
We're well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.
No.
I know I didn't give you a whole lot of notice, but I figured I'd give you a break from shoveling snow.
I love shoveling snow. Good exercise.
I didn't say make snow when you were snowing those guys. I'm talking about shoveling it outside.
That's right. I'll tell you, we're going to get a lot of snow in the next couple of days.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
tonight it's going to rain, and then tomorrow it's supposed to be freezing rain and snow.
Wow.
Not good.
Not good, huh?
No, that's when I miss California.
I'm sure you do.
So you've been doing okay through the
I've
whole.
been doing great. I walk every day as long as it doesn't rain, and I play hockey every Sunday morning at 7:00 with a bunch of guys. We've been doing this for 14 years now, and I read a lot, so I keep myself busy.
Very good. Very good. How about the coaching? You doing any coaching these days?
No, I help my grandkids. I've done my duty as a coach. I coached for over 40 years, and I think I've had enough. I'd rather watch my grandkids play now.
Oh yeah.
Very cool. How old are they?
Well, I have one is 16, another one is 14, and another one is 12. So three of them. So different levels. So that keeps me busy to go watch hockey games.
Are they all? They're all playing.
They all play hockey. Yep.
All right.
So it's fun. I enjoy that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I guess, Lauren, we got a question already from Brian Brown.
Already.
Yes, we do. He is interested in your current your take on the current Flyers team.
Do we have enough time?
Well, you came on early, so we're good.
Yeah, you got 32 minutes. You're good.
It's funny because I had very high expectation at the start of the season. I thought they had made a couple good trades, and I think injuries had a lot to do with what's going on with the Flyers. I think they made a mistake when they fired the coach because he's a very good coach. But today, the way the players make so much money, it's easier to fire a coach and get rid of players. And the other thing is, a lot of times you give long-term contract to players with no trade. You can get rid of them. You're stuck with them, and you pay the price for it.
Right.
And I think it's not just a problem with the Flyers. It's a problem with a lot of teams. I thought that they didn't make enough good moves, I think, to be competitive. I thought that they would have a hard time making the playoff this year with the team that they had. And they cannot rebuild. Nobody's rebuilding anymore because of the salary cap. I think that they just have to make the right decision on the players that they have. And I think that in the last probably 4 or 5 years, I don't think they've done that. And so, 20 years ago, I can't, when Mr. Snyder was alive, my daughter was working for the Spectrum at the time, 20 years ago. And I used to live in California. And I used to come and visit her. And when I came and visit her, I always met with Mr. Snyder. And we would come to a game if the Flyers were playing that night. And then, we would go in this box and talk hockey. And at one point he said to me, we need to bring you back here. And I never thought of it at the time because I had a good job in California. And I regret that I didn't follow through on that. I was thinking about this when I knew I was going to be on tonight, and I wish at the time, even if I had a good job in California, I wish I could have followed through with Mr. Snyder, because I would have loved to be involved with the Flyers, not in the hockey coaching or anything else, but maybe on the outside, to with the people, with the fans, and maybe the youth program. And I didn't do that. And I think the whole Flyers organization is completely different now than when Mr. Snyder owned it.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Snyder ran the Flyers like a family, and the new ownership now run the Flyers like a business. Mm-hmm. And I think it's affecting, you could see the difference on the ice. I think when you could ask anybody that played for the Flyers when Mr. Snyder owned the team, nobody wanted to be traded. Nobody, look how many Flyers live in town, ex-Flyers.
All right. Oh, yeah.
And I don't think you have that many now, to be honest with you. Part of the reason is because Mr. Snyder always treated us like we were his kids.
Right.
Even when I got traded, I knew he felt bad about me being traded, but that's part of the business. And I always loved Mr. Snyder. Doesn't matter. Even when I got traded to Chicago, I didn't want to be traded, but I knew it was not his decision. It was a hockey decision that they made. And today, the players make so much money, they don't care what they play. They don't care if they wear the Flyers uniform or the Blackhawks uniform. They're going to go where they get the most money. When we played with Mr. Snyder, we want to play for him. We want to win for him. I don't think these guys want to play for the new organization. They play for themselves now. And I think that's part of the reason I think the Flyers are not that successful.
Do you think, and I've heard, you in the past 5 minutes, Mr. Snyder, Mr. Snyder, Mr. Snyder, there's a new sheriff in town. You don't think that he looks at that and says, man, maybe we need to take a page out of Mr. Snyder's book. Maybe we need to change things up a little bit and maybe not be so corporate. Is that a possibility, or am I that crazy?
You're crazy.
I knew I liked Andre for some reason.
You're crazy because egos, okay? Because I'll bet you, you go to the Flyers game now, and I'll bet you don't see the same people sitting in the same seats all the time, okay? Because it's all corporate,
right?
And the corporate people give their tickets away to wherever they want to. So you have different people that go to games all the time,
right?
Okay, so if they were smart, they would come and say, what made Mr. Snyder so successful?
Right.
To be honest with you. And the reason is simple. Mr. Snyder started for nothing. I remember one time when I first moved up, expansion, we couldn't give tickets away to come to the game. And I remember Mr. Snyder was doing business with Gerard Bank at the time. And there was a man at Gerard Bank that really believed in the Flyers and Mr. Snyder. And at one point, Mr. Snyder had a hard time making the payroll. The guy just loaned him the money because he believed in him. The gentleman ended up being on the board of director of the Flyers because Mr. Snyder took care of him because he took care of Mr. Snyder at the time.
Sure.
But Mr. Snyder basically earned what he got. Okay? Today, Comcast, whoever owns the Flyers, those kids, it was given to them. They didn't have to work for it.
Right.
And then it's too big of a business. You see, the Flyers is a small part of their business. It should be a big part of their business, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, because the fans in Philadelphia have been so good to the Flyers for so many years, but they won't stand for a loser. They won't go to games. And I don't blame them.
Yeah, we've been seeing that this year.
I don't blame them.
It's really low.
And so I think you brought up a good point, Carl. I think they need, if they were smart, they would gather people that have been, players or executives that have been with the Flyers. Lou Scheinfeld is one of them. He's in town. People that work, Joe Cadillac, a lot of people that used to be with the Flyers, and say, hey, guys, What made you successful? What are we doing wrong? And these guys have to be honest with them and tell them what they think is wrong. You know, they might not be right, but you need to speak up. But you need to get people that were there in the good days that can tell them, guys, if you keep going that way, you might as well play in a smaller building because you're not going to get fans to come to the game.
Yeah. Yeah, you're hitting on a lot of the same topics that are being talked about every day here in Philadelphia.
Was that right?
We just went through a 13-game losing streak.
I remember that. Yeah. And it could be worse.
It just, it shouldn't happen. Like you mentioned earlier, the coach got fired, the GM got fired. They've done a lot of firing, and a lot of the players, they've traded away are pretty successful. They've moved on to other teams, and we just don't seem to be pushing the right buttons. Things just don't seem to be going the Flyer way, and I don't know what that means anymore, because you don't have the same types of players that you had back in your day, back in the Stanley Cup days. It's different now.
One thing that could help, to be honest with you, it's not going to happen because egos get in the way. But if the general manager, because they all afraid of their job. A lot of times they don't like to hire people that are successful because they think they're going to take their job away from them. But one thing the general manager might consider doing is to have an advisory board of people, maybe 3 or 4 people, that have no intention of getting involved in hockey whatsoever, but know the game. It could be ex-player, it could be ex-managers, it could be and meet with them, let's say, once a month and say, let's evaluate the players. Be honest with me. What do you think? Even if the manager made a bad deal, tell him, I thought you made a bad deal with this guy. Be honest, But when you have one person that makes a decision, when the thing you go 13 games losing streak, and then the general manager still has his job, and nothing is happening, something's wrong. I mean, either the general manager could come out and say, I need to seek advice here because I guess obviously what I'm doing now is not working. I fired the coach and things got worse after I fired the coach. Right. And nothing wrong with the coach they have now. It's just I feel they made a mistake because a lot of people that I know in hockey, and I don't know Vigneault. I don't know the coach that coached the Flyers before. I don't know him. The only thing I know is had success everywhere he's been. And he's a good coach. But a lot of times when you're with a team that long with a coach, the players sometimes if they don't get the ice time they feel they should be having, they get mad at the coach and they won't perform the way they should because they hope the coach might get fired.
Yes.
And that's probably what happened here.
Yep, for sure. You guys, John, Lauren, Anthony, Mario, you guys got any questions for our...
By the way, congratulations, you guys, on your marriage.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm happy for you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you so
Great
much.
pictures.
Thank you. No, I didn't know if a lot of times the players come out and they just seem like, and we talk about it all the time, they're down 2-0 immediately. They have no drive, no energy. Is there anything, is there anything that they could do? Is it just not interest? I mean, how do you get down 2-0 every game? I just don't get it.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're down 2-0 or if you're up 2-0, to be honest with you. The problem is the amount of money they make and the length of contract that they have. The winning is not as big of a part to the players. Not all of them, but to a lot of players today, because they know that they got a contract, they're secured, because all the contracts in the NHL are guaranteed.
Right.
So you cannot, even if you get rid of them, you have to pay them.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
So, winning is not as big of a deal as it used to be. And again, it comes back. I hate to bring it back again, but I bring back Mr. Snyder. We all wanted to win for him. Mm-hmm. If you want to win for the owners, that means you want to win for yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I don't think that's the case right now for the Flyers.
Mm.
Yeah, the emphasis has definitely gone away. That's for sure. It's you know,
Well, you
it's
can see the way they're playing. You know, I mean, I didn't watch them on TV because they were not good. You know, and they were boring to watch.
Yeah.
So I had no interest, in watching them. I said, I mean, at one point, if you watch a Columbus and Flyers game, that was awful.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you're still playing every Sunday. You still got legs to play.
Oh, I could play the power play for them.
There you go. you can use that.
You know, hey, I'm 76 years old, and I think I could probably still make some moves.
Well, there you go.
Is there anything that you would do with the current team itself, or do you think it needs a total rehaul? Because like I said,
No, I don't think you need a complete. I don't think so. No,
Right.
And I think, I don't blame the goaltender because I don't think he's as great as everybody thinks he is. He's a good goalie, but he's not a great goalie. And but
Well, wait, you're talking about the backup, right? You're not talking about Carter Hart.
oh, yeah, I'm talking about Carter Hart.
So do you think he could be a great goalie?
Ooh.
Yes, it could be, but
Okay.
again, I was not done though. But you can't blame him because when the team scores one goal a game, you're not going to win games with one goal.
Mhm.
Okay. And if you look at the shots on goal, he was getting 35, 40 shots on goal. And that's why I think it was probably good for him, to be honest with you. Bad for the team, but good for him. But they were losing game 2-1, 3-2, whatever it is, but they were getting outplayed completely.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I always said he had a great year the first year. He had a terrible year last year. He had a so-so year this year. And I think he can be great. I really do, to be honest with you. But Bernie wouldn't have been as great if Bernie didn't have all the good defensemen that he had. And you ask Bernie will tell you that. Okay. Your goalie is as good as your defensemen are. Okay.
Mhm.
The Flyers didn't have that.
Right.
Okay. So that's why you need to give the kid a chance, to be honest with you, because if he was going on a different team that had good defensemen, he would probably be a great goalie right away.
Right.
So I think if I was the Flyers, my concentration right now would be, okay, how do I build around my goaltender, which I think it could be okay. And not just okay, it could be great, but you need help. Okay. You build from back up. You don't build. You see, I always said you don't win the hockey games with guys like me. You win the hockey games with defensemen and goaltender, with defense.
Mhm.
Then you go from goalie to defense to forward. Then you evaluate your forward and say, okay, how many kids in their 20s here that we feel can be better? And then you build from there.
Mhm.
Okay. But you don't start by signing a forward that might make $6 million a year. Let's face it, during the season, you win hockey game with your first line. In the playoffs, you win hockey games with your third line.
Right.
You don't win hockey game with your first line. Okay. So a good general manager will look for players that are great third line players. And there are a lot of them there. You just need to pick the right ones. And I think the Flyers could be successful with that. But you cannot start from the forward back. You need to start from back to forward.
Right.
And I think with Hart in goal, then get yourself some good defensemen that are good defensively. Let's face it. If you ask Eddie Van Impe to take a slap shot, Eddie Van Impe could break a piece of paper. Eddie will tell you that. Okay. But there's no way in the world someone's standing in front of the net when Eddie Van Impe was there.
Right.
Then you had Jimmy Watson. You had so many good players that played defense. They were good defensive defensemen. And that's what you need when you have a team like the Flyers. You need to prevent the goals against.
Yeah.
But you don't have that right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's too offensive the game right now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the book. How successful has the book been? I know it's been a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good so far. I sold about 1,000 books so far, on Amazon and your help and everybody else's help. And I translate the book in French. And it's hard to sell in Canada because everything is closed in Canada. I still get, people that contact me through Facebook and say, how can I get your book? So I'm happy I did it. I wanted to tell my story, because I think I have a unique story, with my childhood and the number of kids in my family and things that people probably have never read before. I didn't want to write a hockey book because, people could look online for my stats and everything else. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
I want it to be more of a personal story, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, no, very, very good choice. Excellent book. And I know we've had a number of people that are still asking, and I know we've talked. I've talked to your son, and I'll just throw it right out there. In the words of Brian Maloney, when are you coming back to Carl's Club?
I know. I said anytime. I always enjoy to come and sign autograph at your store. It's nice, because the one thing with your store, you meet real hockey fans. You meet the real people, and I miss that. I tell people, I said, I'm so glad I played when I did compared to today, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because every place I played, I made a lot of friends, a lot of fans. And the people that came to, I remember when I was in Hartford, people in Hartford would go on vacation in the summer because they want to save their money to buy season tickets for next year.
Right.
And we had a booster club, and then once a month they used to invite a couple of players to come to the booster club meeting for dinner and talk hockey, and we love to do that. It's all gone, But that when you come to your store, you get real fans that come to your store. That's what's nice.
Yeah, no, it's we're looking forward to it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it done as soon as we get through this ice and snow, and the warmer weather sets in, and you can have a relaxing commute to Philadelphia.
I know, and our buddy Mark always asks me, Mark Michel always said, "When are you coming?"
I know. He lives right up the street from the store.
I know. I met him, right?
He don't ask me how I'm doing. He asks me how you're doing. I'm like, what are you asking me for? You
smart man,
right? Absolutely.
You look great, by the way. You look super.
Yeah, he's a good person. I'm really he kind of just trickled into our life because he lives up the street, and I got to know him a little bit, and we've had a very good friendship.
That's awesome. We go a long way, you and I.
Yeah, I get bits and pieces of the story. He don't give it to me all at once. You know what I mean? It's
we met on the beach in Brigantine.
That's what he told me.
And then one time he was at a hospital in Atlantic City on the boardwalk, and I went to visit him on the boardwalk at the hospital. And I asked the nurse, is it okay if I take his bed on the boardwalk and take it for a walk? Could he let me do it? So I took him on his bed and we went on the boardwalk.
You could do that today, right?
Oh my God, no. I mean, I could do it, but they wouldn't let me do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And for those that are on with us tonight and know a little bit about the store, and Mark's the young man in the wheelchair that always is seated outside taking pictures of everybody, and he too wrote a book, and he's writing another book, just a very,
great young man.
Just a great person, and I'm glad I got to know him, and just the connection with you and him, and it's just it's just a really cool story, cool story. But Jack, Lauren, why don't you got a couple of questions there?
Jack is hoping that he could talk about what it was like playing with the French Connection line.
Well, those were great guys. Jean-Guy Gendron and Simon Olay. We played together in Quebec. And then there's a good story about that because we had such a great season in Quebec City. And then we all went up with the Flyers at the end in 67, 68, near the end of the season. And the following year, Simon Olay and Jean-Guy Gendron came with the Flyers. And when Vic Stasiak was coaching with the Flyers, probably the worst coach I ever had in hockey, some reporter asked him, he said, are you going to keep the French line together? He said, well, I don't think so. Well, he was my coach in Quebec City. in Quebec. He coached Jean-Guy Simon and I in Quebec City. And when I left the Quebec Aces to come to the Flyers, I was leading the league, I think, by about 30 points or so. Simon was second, and Jean-Guy was not too far behind. So he knew what we could do together. For him to tell the reporters, I don't think I'm going to keep them together. It just didn't make sense.
Right.
Obviously, he didn't have much brain, because when you think about it, you keep them together, and if it doesn't work, then you split them.
Right.
But don't split them when you have a good thing going. It doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
For sure.
You know?
For
So,
sure.
but you know, the thing is that I knew where they were going to be all the time. They knew that I wanted the puck, because I said, I don't want to score the goal. I want you guys to score the goal. I want the assist, you know, and that's the kind of communication we had. So they were just great teammates to play with.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Love the, love watching those old school games and the highlights, and just, that was hockey back then.
Well, that's what's good. You see, that's another reason I don't watch much hockey anymore, because you see, the only thing you see now is dump and chase.
Right.
You know, and I said, that's not hockey. I said, you dump the puck. I said, you fight so hard to get the puck, then you give it back to them. Are you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because all the teams I've coached, I told all the kids, all the teams I coached, I say, if you dump the puck, you're not going to play. You're going to sit. I said, use your skill. I'd rather see you make a mistake than dump the puck in. I said, that's not hockey. I said, you need to make plays.
Yeah.
But that's the way hockey is today.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Dump and chase.
Yep. They all want to score goals. Goals are
And
money.
you know what, too? There's no checking anymore. You might as well put a skirt on them. You know, nobody's checking. If you check somebody, the whole team goes after you.
Mm-hmm. True.
Crazy. And a good check, good legal check. You're not even allowed to do that anymore. Again, money has a lot to do with it.
Sure.
They don't want to get hurt. They make too much money and say, hey, don't touch me. I won't touch you.
Yeah.
That's not hockey.
No.
John, I think you dug up a question for our guest. What do you got?
Tell us a little bit of. I was reading a little bit today. When your experience in Petersburg, learning to speak English with the family in the bowling alley and the records, and how that
was awesome. Because see, when I went to Peterborough, well, let me go back for a second. I was playing with junior Canadians the year before. Mm-hmm. We had an unbelievable team. We had like Cournoyer, Lemaire, Savard. I mean, unbelievable. And then at the end of in those days, there was no draft. They had what they called the C form. And if you sign the C form, that means they give you like $500 the team, and that means they own you for the rest of your life. Okay. And that's how Bobby Orr ended up in Boston. Because Bobby, when I was playing in Peterborough, Bobby was playing in Oshawa. And Boston Bruins owned the Oshawa team as well as Niagara Falls. So they give Bobby, let's say, $500 or $1,000 to his parents. And by taking the money, then Bobby belonged to the Bruins the rest of his life. That's why he ended up in Boston. So when I went to Peterborough, when I went sign the C form with Montreal, they got mad at me. So they said, well, you're not going to be back here next year. I didn't know if I was going to be junior in Quebec. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. Then Peterborough offered me a tryout, and they were owned by Montreal at the time too. And that's the best thing that happened to me. I won the scoring title twice there, and then I learned to speak English. There was a Greek family that owned a bowling alley, and I didn't bowl or I didn't shoot pool. I just hang around, and it was so nice because they told me, they said, we're going to help you. Don't worry about it. We'll help you. And they really helped me with my English. And then I read. What I would do is I would watch hockey night in Canada on Wednesday night and Saturday night. And then the next day I would read the newspaper, because I would try, by reading the newspaper, I would connect with what I watch on TV. And then I also, in those days, I had those records that you play, and it tells you, for example, I am hungry, j'ai faim. Then it translates in French. And I used to listen to those. And when my first interview in Peterborough, I went on TV, and the guy was so good. He said, Andre, he said, don't wait. I'm going to ask you very short question, and said, make short answers. You're not going to get in trouble. And that went very well. And being in Peterborough for 2 years, that gave me the opportunity to learn the language.
Yeah. That's very cool.
I was like 21 years old at the time.
Wow.
Wow.
So it took
Best thing that
German.
happened to me. Best thing that happened to me.
It took a German to teach you English to a French person.
Yeah. So, but the fans were good to me there. They knew that there could have been a language barrier, and I mean, one time I was playing against the Toronto. We're in the Madison Square Garden, and there were the defenseman. I went beside their bench. The defenseman took me out, but by taking me out, they put the button of this stick. That was an accident in my eye.
Oof.
So I got off the ice. They take me locker room. The doctor comes in and said, "You're gonna have to go to the hospital." He said, "Would you rather go to the hospital in Peterborough?" I said, "Yeah, I would rather go there than stay here." And there were two fans, husband and his wife, young couple. They were at the game from Peterborough. They came by the locker room. They said, "Is Andre all right?" So they took me back in their car because I had to lay down the whole time
Wow.
to Peterborough. So they took me back to Peterborough. I didn't know them. And they took me to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 1 week. And then the reporters in Quebec City put in the paper that I was in the hospital. I'm probably going to lose an eye. So I get a call from my parents. What's the matter, I said, no, I'm not going to lose my eye. Everything will be fine, And then the doctor would come once a day. I had both eyes covered for 5 days because they didn't want the blood to go in on the other side. And then the nurse would come in, and the nurse would read me the newspaper because I couldn't do anything. The doctor would come in once a day. He would open the bandage when my eye was hurt for about 5 seconds, saying, "Okay, I'll be back later. Goodbye." That was it. So I didn't know what was going on, And everything turned out good. But in those days, you're 21 years old. You're away from home. Your parents are worried about you. Are you going to be okay?
Yeah.
So, but those are, that was hockey.
What was going through your head at that point?
Well, to be honest with you, that's a good question. You don't think about what's when my head was, I'll be fine. I'm going to be back on the ice soon. I'll be fine. I mean, I never played with a helmet, never wore a helmet. Okay. So I said, I'm sure I'll be fine, And when I went home, after I got out of the hospital, I couldn't wait to get back on the ice. I was never worried about getting hurt again, because I said, you have to play with it. You have to live with it,
Yeah, 21, you don't think of things like that.
No, one time I was playing in San Diego, we had a game in Phoenix, and somebody came across the ice, and I didn't see him coming. It just hit me, clean hit, fell back on the ice. I had like 15 stitches on the back of my head, and the doctor puts 15 stitches, and I would put a helmet on, went back and play, and then after the game, we're going to another city, and the doctor said, "Who's your roommate?" I said, "Kevin is my roommate." He said, "Just tell him to wake you up every 4 hours, you'll be fine." So because as soon as we got out, he said, "Tell him to wake you up for 4 hours, no big deal." That's when he dealt with concussion then.
Right.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore. I would have been out for a month. Probably not because I wanted to. They probably wouldn't let me play.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah.
That's the sad part about it.
Great hockey stories. Great hockey stories. Nothing like it. Lauren, anything else out there in Facebook land?
No, we pretty much covered it.
Our friend Brian Maloney wants you to talk a little bit about meeting Boom Boom Jeffrey when you were 13 years old.
Do we have to talk about Brian now? Come on.
Well, hey, these are your fan club.
Brian's a great guy. I love Brian. Yeah. Now, listen, Boom Boom Jeffrey coached me in Quebec City. And Boom Boom Jeffrey wanted to be like a centerfold. Like he had the best suits, the best tie, everything had to be always perfect, and basically he invented the slap shot. He was one of the first guys to use the slap shot. And there's a story about Boom Boom too, because he was playing in Montreal at the same time John Beliveau, my idol, was playing there. And at one point when Rocket Richard was retired, they give Beliveau the captaincy. Boom Boom thought he would be the captain. Okay. And when he came to the forum expecting to be the captain, he was not happy because John Beliveau was named captain. He was named the assistant captain. And so, but you're talking about a great guy. Well, everybody was a great guy those days because
Right.
everybody came up from nothing. Okay. Everybody was a blue collar player.
Right.
None of us went to college because we had to make a choice. You either play junior hockey or you go to college. If you go to college, that means your hockey career was over in those days. So all of us end up playing junior hockey so we couldn't go to college. So everything we did, we worked hard to make sure that we kept our career going because we didn't feel we had a great education to get into something else in those days. So, and that was it. That was the same case with Boom Boom, Jeffrey Allen, and all those guys. When Beliveau signed with Montreal, the Molson beer owned the Canadians at the time. They still own them now, but they owned them then. And Molson went to Beliveau. They said, you don't have to sign a contract. He said, you have a contract for life here and you have a job for life with Molson. That's when he first signed. That's for you. And he worked for Molson until he died, basically.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
yeah. My idol.
Wow.
Real
Awesome.
gentleman.
Awesome. We could have you on for hours. I mean, the hockey stories are great. And I think I speak for everybody here in the room. I appreciate you making time for us
My
tonight.
pleasure. Anytime. My pleasure.
And
I'll come and visit you in Philly.
Yeah, we're gonna put something together.
We'll work it out. We'll work it out.
We're gonna get this done for sure.
Tell Bernie I said hi in a couple of weeks when he goes to your store.
I will. Absolutely, I will. And again, I want to thank everybody for jumping on tonight and great guest, Andre Lacroix, great hockey guest. The stories are priceless. But thank you. Be safe.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
My
Take
pleasure.
care, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
See you later.
Yeah.